Okay, so right now I'm having more than a bad hair day. Let's call it a bad hair era. My hair for the past couple of months, she's not been cooperating with me the way that I would like her to. So today we're going to be giving her a break and I'll be wearing this random hat that somebody got me from St. Lucia. Alright, okay, big ups to the Lucians watching this if there are any of y'all. Land of brilliant artists like Derek Walcott and Money Exchange. Yeah, she's from St. Lucia. Fun fact. Alright, so today is the first day of Ramadan and it's also the first day of a reading vlog. And this is not really a Ramadan themed reading vlog. I will actually be reading some of the books from the long list of the Women's Prize for Fiction 2022. The long list was recently announced and I thought that I should try to read as much books as possible from the list so that when the shortlist is announced on the 27th of April, I can see how many of the books I read actually made it onto the shortlist. Hopefully at least a few of them do. Ideally, I would read all 16 of the books on the long list, but I don't have the attention span for that. I can't read 16 books in less than a month. I don't have the reading skills that most of y'all do on this platform. And B, even if I could read all 16, I can't access them in that short time frame. I don't have that kind of money. My whole ancestral lineage don't have that kind of money. The libraries down here don't have that kind of money. So I'm gonna read what I can read from the list. These dogs are like, hello, excuse me. Is it that deep? This is why I'm a cat person, because they don't be screaming and making that kind of noise, okay? Well, unless they're mating, because sometimes late at night I hear that. Anyway, it's Ramadan. So I was able to access 6 of the books on the 16 book long list, and hopefully at least a few of them end up making it onto the 6 book short list. My goal is to read all of them by the time the short list is announced. So I actually already owned 2 of the books, look at that. I also reserved a copy of one of them at my local independent bookstore. You should always support your local independent bookstores, and this book is by a local author, so support your local authors as well. And the other 3 books I managed to download for free. This is why it is just impossible to be a YouTuber in Trinidad and Tobago. Do I have any old metal? I don't know, that seems like a straight people thing. Well, anyways, it's the first day of Ramadan. What was I saying again? Right, okay, so the other 3 books I managed to download them on Audible, so I'll be listening to them for free, Anna Grande, okay, honey? Well, I mean, not really, because, you know, you have to pay for an Audible membership, but you get what I mean. But anyways, yeah, sit back, relax, grab a snack, or don't if you're fasting, and join me on this Women's Prize reading journey. Now, I know y'all saw that giant ass pimple on my face in the last clip. Anyways, we're not here to talk about my messy skin. We're here to talk about my messy reading life, okay? Right now, I'm lying down in bed with B. This is Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead, and I'm about almost 200 pages into it thus far, and I'm really loving this book. This one takes place in 2 different timelines in the early 20th century and the early 21st century. In the earlier timeline, we're following a woman named Marion who becomes like one of the first female pilots in American history. She's obviously fictional, but in this story, she's kind of like an Amelia Earhart type figure, and much like Amelia Earhart, she goes missing when she tries to circumnavigate the world longitudinally over the poles, as opposed to Earhart, who I believe did it latitudinally. So we're actually following her from her early childhood to her teenage years, and this girl wants nothing more than to be a pilot. Right now where I am in this story, she's still a teenager, and she left school so she could work to start making money for pilot lessons. And that's what I like about this character the most, is her ambition and her determination to just get where she wants to be. And she wants to be a pilot in the 1920s, and nobody's taking her seriously because she's a girl. They're like, you can't do that. And she's not like, you know, resisting them in like this super conscious feminist way, I am woman, hear me roar type of thing, but she is sort of like, y'all are dumb, because I could, nothing stopping me from flying a plane other than the fact that y'all bitches think that because I'm a girl I can't fly a plane. She actually has no investment in being a girl Also, which is something that I really enjoy about her character as well, she's very genderless, to say the least. Pilot is her gender identity. She's like, I sexually identify as a pilot, okay? The other more modern and less interesting storyline, if you ask me, is about this woman named Hadley in the early 21st century who's an actress. And she has been fascinated with Marion her entire life because her and Marion have had somewhat of a similar upbringing. So she was more than happy to accept a role to play Marion in a biopic. So it's about a woman who became one of the first female pilots and went missing, and then another woman who eventually plays her in a famous Hollywood movie or whatever. So that's where I am in that book so far. Right now I'm also listening to the audiobook of The Sentence by Louise Erdrich. I've never read anything by Erdrich before, but I know people always talk about her all the time. This one takes place in Minnesota, and it's following an indigenous woman named Tookie, who works for this independent bookstore that sells a variety of literature, but also specializes in selling indigenous American, Native American lit as well. The bookstore starts to become haunted by a ghost, the ghost of a very annoying white customer who used to come in all the time named Flora, and Flora decides to continue visiting in this ghost form. At least Tookie 100% believes this because she believes that she can feel Flora's presence. She also comes across this random creepy book that is connected to Flora. It's a one-of-a-kind print. The print of the book is really difficult to read, and there is this one sentence in the book that she can't seem to finish or understand properly because it's not printed clearly, and she believes that that sentence holds the key to why Flora is haunting the store, I think. At least that's what I get from it so far. I'm really enjoying this book. What I enjoy about it the most is the bookish storytelling. It's set in a bookstore, and it's a book about books. It's a book about loving books. It's a book about connecting with literature, and it's a book about literature being a coping mechanism for our daily lives and struggles. So yes, very much enjoying this, and I do look forward to finishing it. So I will update you all when I make a little bit more progress in both of these books. Sajid, why is your middle shelf empty? Why is your middle shelf empty, bitch? Okay, so I'm here to announce some changes of plans. I actually will no longer be ending this video around the time of the announcement of the shortlist. I'm actually going to stretch it out to the announcement of the winner.
Liza Minnelli, lies.
And the reason for that is I did not manage to read all 6 of the books before the announcement of the shortlist, which is in 2 days. I read a fraction of the books. 2 to be precise. But quickly, let's talk about the book that I'm still currently reading, Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead. I only made it 100 more pages in, so I'm only about halfway through the story now. And my thoughts and opinions haven't really changed thus far. I still pretty much feel the same way. I also obviously ended up finishing The Sentence by Louise Erdrich, and I absolutely freaking loved this book. It was so brilliant. This is such a wonderful story that is just honestly such a love letter to books and reading and literature and the love for literature. I really love the exploration of Native American culture and history in this book as well. I really enjoy the paranormal element as well. It was so interesting to read about how that was incorporated into this story. When I first started to realize that, oh, this is going to be a ghost story, I thought it was going to take a really paranormal horror twist, but it didn't. It even though it is, I guess you could consider it speculative, it reads contemporary. And what I enjoyed about it is that every time the character talked about the store being haunted, she was just kind of matter of fact about it. She was like, oh, this ghost bitch again. Just browsing through the books, knocking things over with her ghostly ass while I'm trying to check stock or whatever. And whenever she would tell people about it, they'd kind of believe her, but they'd also just be like, yeah, there's a ghost. Must be tough, The other point that I wanted to make about the book that I really enjoyed was the fact that it felt so contemporary. And when I say contemporary, I mean this book actually, a lot of it takes place in 2020. And I didn't really see that coming. I knew that the book takes place in the late 2010s, but I didn't really realize that it was going to go into the year of our Lord 2020 until we got to that point, and they actually started to talk about the experiences with coronavirus and the pandemic, and eventually the shooting of George Floyd became a big topic in the book as well, because it does take place in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which is where George Floyd was killed. So the story ends up delving into the Black Lives Matter protests that emerged at that time, and it started to make connections between the Black struggle and the Native American struggle, which I was really appreciative of to see that discussion in the story. I like that it went down that road, and it felt so modern. It felt like it felt like something that affirms a lot of the things that I feel like a lot of people, not just in America but in different parts of the world, were going through and are going through right now. So I like that the book feels so current and relevant. That's definitely one of my favorite aspects of it as well. I could go on and on, but suffice to say, I really, really enjoyed The Sentence. I've only read 2 books so far, but I can say that I do hope to see this on the shortlist. Not sure if it will make it, but it would be nice. Then I started and finished The Bread the Devil Knead by Lisa Allen Agostini. This is the book that I actually reserved at my local independent bookstore. I got this at Paper Base, which is a local bookstore that is located at the Normandy Hotel in St. Anne's. They specialize in selling Caribbean literature, which is what I really, really love and appreciate about Paper Base. So if you're ever in Trinidad, if you're from Trinidad, if you live here, if you visit here at any point, please check out Paper Base. They are amazing. What's really interesting though is that this is a local book, so it takes place right here in Trinidad. So there's actually a scene in this book where the main character goes to the Hotel Normandy. If you've read the book, you might recall the scene where she and her best friend Janky go to this fancy restaurant in a hotel. That hotel is the same hotel that the bookstore that I bought this book in is located at. So I was actually kind of hoping that I would see like a cameo of that bookstore in the book, because how cool would that have been to see like the bookstore that you bought a book in the book. But The Bread the Devil Knead, if you haven't gathered thus far, is a book that takes place right here in Trinidad and Tobago, predominantly in Port of Spain, and it's about this woman named Alethea, who is currently in an abusive relationship with her common-law husband. Not many people know that because Alethea seems like a really fiercely independent woman. She manages a clothing shop in town, so everybody has like a kind of level of respect for her, and nobody really knows what she is going through. So the story is kind of like about her experience with that. It's also about her experience just working and her day-to-day life, and we do get a lot of flashbacks into her childhood where we see that she has a history of abuse at the hands of her mother and her uncle. So it's ultimately a story about this woman who has for her entire life conceded to being abused physically, verbally, emotionally by the people around her, by the people who are supposed to love her and take care of her. So much so to the point where it has corrupted her idea of what love is and of what a relationship should look like and what one should expect in a relationship. One of my favorite aspects about this book is that it is written in Creole, so we're getting the first person perspective from Alethea, and she is narrating the story in Trinidadian Creole. I've tried to read a couple books that attempted to do this in the past, so I read the first like 50 pages of Stars and the Blackness Between Them by Janota Petras, and the Creole was inaccurate to the point where I could not stomach the book. I think I've complained about this a few times. The author, I don't think she grew up here, so she isn't really familiar with how Trinidadians speak well enough, so it's just really cringy reading that book. And I had a similar experience recently where I was reading Love After Love by Ingrid Prasad, another author who I believe doesn't really live here anymore. Maybe she grew up here, but something about like the Creole wasn't inaccurate in this book, but something about the way that it was written felt a little bit forced, and it felt like the author was trying to be authentically Trinidadian. Whereas I found that Lisa Allen Agostini, somebody who actually still lives here, writes Alethea's voice in a way that just seemed so realistic and organic, to the point where I honestly kind of forgot, like while I was reading the story, that it was written in Creole. And I enjoyed it so much because I mean, this is how I naturally speak. The way that this character talks for the most part is also how I talk, how I speak to my family and my friends, and how most of the people around me speak. So it just felt so comforting and so close to home, no pun intended. My only problem with the book is that I do feel like the ending was a bit, I don't want to say it was rushed, but it just felt, everything just sort of wrapped up nicely for the main character. If you read the book, you'd know what I mean. Like everything sort of fell in place for her, and she didn't really do anything to get out of her situation. Things just happened in a way where she just was able to get out of the situation, where she didn't really have a choice but to leave the situation. So I just felt like I would have liked to have seen her take that agency, but there was a nice scene towards the end where she begins to start the process of healing from her trauma, and I appreciated that because it kind of gave me the closure that I wanted. Because when we were getting to the end of the story, I was like, is she just going to like get out of this situation and not learn anything and not come to any realizations or conclusions? But towards the end of the book, we got that, so I appreciated that, but I do feel like it did feel a little bit unrealistic and that things wrapped up a little bit too nicely for her. Other than that, I thought it was a fantastic read and I absolutely highly recommend it. I do want it to make the shortlist because I think it would be so cool if a Trini author makes the shortlist for the Women's Prize. I don't know if that's ever happened before, but maybe it has. I don't know. But I think it would be so cool if she does make the shortlist, and if she wins, like I would just love that. I would live for that. I would be so happy for Lisa. It is the morning of the announcement of the shortlist for the Women's Prize, and I'm eating some grapes, having breakfast. I'm about to start fast in like about an hour or so, a little less than an hour actually. So I'm just over here watching ContraPoint and waiting for these ladies to come on the live and tell us what books are on the shortlist. So I've made no progress. I've only read this baby right here, and The Sentence by Louise Erdrich. Didn't finish this as yet. Didn't even start this. Didn't start anything else. What I think is going to be on the shortlist, I don't know. I'll watch Eric's video. He made a video with a friend talking about which books they think are going to make the shortlist. I remember they said that Great Circle might most probably be there, along with The House of Missing Islands. And that's not the name of the book. It's early in the morning, okay? And I haven't finished my grapes. The Island of Missing Trees. Island of Missing Trees, Great Circle, Creatures of Past Passage. That seems to be a favorite, so I feel like that is for sure going to be on the list. This one, Sky Day. I can't remember the other two, but I think one of the other two that they had on the list was the Build Your House Around My Body book. I don't know. I will say that again, I would love to see Bread the Devil Knead on the list, but I have a feeling it probably won't get there. I could definitely see Great Circle because she was shortlisted for the Booker Prize, okay? And I could see Book of Form and Emptiness, but I'm not 100% sure. I haven't started it as yet. I love A Tale for the Time Being. Okay, do you see my copy? You can't see my copy, it's out of frame. But that's my favorite book of all time. Actually, you can see it. It's right here. This book here in the corner here. You see it? You see it. I know you see it. The real ones see it. Y'all see it. I could definitely see The Sentence on it though. Like The Sentence was really popular and a lot of people seem to like it as well. I loved it. I think it definitely deserves to be there. But I don't think The Sentence and Book of Form and Emptiness will be on the list together.
Liza Minnelli, lies.
They're both kind of like speculative, you know? Like one is a little bit more paranormal, the other is a little more surrealistic, and they're both about books, right? Like mysterious books that appear in the main characters' lives that have some kind of magical or paranormal ability. Oh my god, it says it's going to premiere in 60 seconds. Get your grapes together, everybody. Trinity is the one that I'm like least rooting for. Her and Vivian. I like them, but they're just not my favorites of the group. But they are such fierce queens, like they could easily take the crown from these other bitches. I don't know. Ooh, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let me mute the chat. I don't want to hear what these bitches have to say.
My name's Marianne Seacart, and I'm this year's chair of the judges. And my fellow judges and I have been deciding on the short list of amazing books, and we're going to talk you through them right now.
This girl is very pretty.
The Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead is a book about every aspect of every woman's life. It's an incredibly feminist, entertaining,
Oh, did it make the short list?
Curious book that tackles everything.
The Book of Form and Emptiness by Ruth Ozeki.
Gaga-chandra.
The Sentence by Louise Erdrich is just the most wonderful book.
The Sentence and Book of Form and Emptiness
behind
made the
bars.
list together? Oh my god, forget what I said.
The Island of Missing Trees by Elif Shafak.
These are all of the books that I like have and that have been reading.
As well as the more metaphorical roots that
My
bind us to
mind,
places
my
and
power.
magnificent
Oh my
achievements.
god.
The Bread the Devil Knead by Lisa Allen Agostini is the most immersive book, and it's full of warmth and humanity and humour and sadness.
Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Mason. It's such a
Okay, I don't
compassionate
know.
look at
I didn't even know this one from the long
And the
list. Literally, of the 6 books, go back to the top of the video. Of the 6 books that I said that I was going to read, 5 of them made the list. 5 of them made the list. And my dumbass just doesn't know anything in general, so the fact that I am so excited. So excited this is on the list. I am so excited this is on the list. Oh my god. Yes. Yes. Creatures of who?
Creatures of Passage where she passing? Cause she ain't pass on the shortlist. This one sky where? Build a house around where it can't be around the shortlist. She didn't make the shortlist. I'm just kidding. I'm joking. No disrespect to any of these authors who didn't make it. I absolutely want to read all of these books. Creatures of Passage sounds great. Build a House Around My Body sounds really great. This one, Sky Day, sounds really great. I'm really excited to read those books. But the books that I was planning to read, the books that I read, made the shortlist. My mind, my power. Oh my god. They should have me on the panel. They would have made the same decision. Oh wait, they only allow women on the panel. Crap. They should have me as like a guest panelist, like a male consultant. That's very problematic. No, never mind. Icons, legends. These books are the moment. Now, come on now. So there we have it, y'all. That's the shortlist. This is the shortlist for the Miss Girliana Grande Prize for Fiction. I'm very proud, not just of these authors, but of myself for being a psychic.
Yep, that's me.
For having that intuition, okay? For having that foresight. So I actually decided that I'm going to end the video here because this is already a really long video. It's probably already over 20 minutes and I don't want to be uploading like an hour-long video of me reading all 6 of these books. So this video will probably be in 2 to 3 parts of just vlogs of me finishing the Women's Prize. If you want more in-depth and wider reviews on the Women's Prize long-listed and shortlisted books, I definitely recommend that you subscribe to Eric and Britta if you haven't already. If you have taste in booktubers, you will subscribe to them. So yeah, I will see y'all in the next attempt at vlogging. This was probably very messy, I'm sorry, but you can't really expect much when it comes to vlogs here. Let me know if you've read any of these books that I talked about in this video, if you have any thoughts on them, and as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely, lovely day, and until next time, inshallah, keep reading.